Talking tactics tonight, take two actually, both from the same race. Catching up with Dave Moran. Firstly, mate, thank you very much for joining me.
No, thanks, Paul.
I caught up with Amanda Turnbull a little bit earlier, probably the tale of, or two tales in the race really, and she definitely had the barrier draw advantage over the rest of you. But I thought your bloke was sensational in the way that he went, and I just... Probably some people probably wondering what happened with a lap to go, which we'll get to in a minute, Dave. But just thought we'd catch up on your tactics. Firstly, how did he pull up, mate?
Yeah, he pulled up real good, Paul. Yeah, no, he seems pretty good. He generally he has a couple of them hard runs, and he seems to be better off for him. He was real good Sunday, and he was good again today.
Paraded beautifully, like in the parade ring before the race. It's just a pity crowds can't get to see some of these horses. And that field the other night, there was a couple on the toes. Actually, Jody's horse was a little bit on the toes, and the rest. But most of them are just professionals, aren't they? And they just walk around. And he, for a young stallion, he's just an absolute gentleman the way he walks around.
Yeah, he's a pretty relaxed sort of dude. He's pretty casual. I know that it's the same here sort of thing. You know, he'd stand there for 10 minutes if you wanted him to. So yeah, no, he's pretty relaxed sort of fella.
Is that one of his problems, Dave, that he, like you say, he needs a lot of racing? Like that's the reason he needs a lot of racing, because he is so casual?
I think so. He's sort of got to the stage now where he started to be a real bull too. This time of year, obviously, they all start doing a little bit better. So he's doing pretty well in himself, but that race will do him real good, and he'll be reasonably close to the mark this week.
Yep, and he's got a few more major targets to go. So this week's not the grand final either. Neither was this race here at Bendigo, mate, and you can see you clearly there, just above your head, actually, at the back of the field. But you had to grab hold. Basically, the speed off the front line was pretty extreme, and it was going to get a bit messy if you tried to even go forward early on, I would imagine.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny when the fields come out. It was probably one of the most tactical races that I've been in with him for a long while. You know, you generally can get to the breeze pretty comfortable on them sort of horses in most races, but to look at it on paper, yeah, it was one of them things. There was 4 horses off the back row that were probably going to make moves at some stage, and then Harley was obviously always going to find the front pretty cheap and pretty easy, and when he does that, he can reel off some unreal sectionals.
I've just stopped it down the back straight, mate. I don't like stopping people when they're talking either. So, but James Herberton, you say about getting to the deaf and tactically when you can. James was just caught wide. Reactor now didn't want to hand up to him. The little horse's name's forgot me. Craig Dembler's going to tell me right off because he's a ripping little horse. But his
My
name,
Kiwi mate.
My Kiwi mate. Thank you very much. Josh shook him off, so he's coming back. So you say about wanting to go to the death, but right at the minute, that's not even really an option, is it? Unless you go 4 wide, which ended up happening to you a bit later on in the race. But that's one of the issues with the tactics of races. It's not just what you want to do, it's what other people like Josh Aiken, shaking a horse like that off. And that would have been strategic on Josh's point of view, because he would also know that there's no one coming early on, so he's got a chance to work out what he wants to do with his bloke.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, for sure. Josh's horse is stepping up in grade a little bit. It was his first sort of go at that level. So, you know, he was probably always going to take a sit, but, you know, in all fairness, he probably wanted to take a sit on one that was going to keep him in a pretty forward position. So he got a good track in the race. He probably didn't really want to be stepping up in grade first time and having to pull out at the 600 or 700. So yeah, he probably sort of had to do what he did.
Absolutely, and just where the tape is right now, my Kiwi mate's grabbed hold and gone behind you. At the same time, San Carlo then takes the deaf out of the equation for the short term because Beck's having a crack for the lead. So you then got to be patient again. You've got major threat. Jody's up ahead of you. Co Black in front of you. You're pretty confident he won't pull out, but you've just pulled out right there now. And to all intents and purposes, it looks like Jody's shoved you wide, but you can actually see right where I've actually stopped the tape. You're just fully wound up. Jody's already out 3 deep. So it wasn't necessarily that Jody's come out underneath you. It was more you've got to maintain your momentum especially in this day and age, it's not like the old days where you just snag back and grab hold. Now you want to keep your speed rolling at that right sort of time. And this ended up being one of the, it probably is going to sound silly, but it was actually the move I think that made you, or helped you run second basically, because then Joshy pulls out here in a second, and you're in the box seat all of a sudden, even although you're forward wide, you get the chance of getting ahead of Jody.
Yeah, exactly. No, like you said, Jody definitely didn't put me wide. It was a funny thing because, like you said, Beck had a little look for the front there, and I think we all sort of waited for the exact moment to go, which was pretty much as soon as Beck started to eat. I got on my bike and I started to go reasonably quick, and Jody had the same idea, and it was sort of more me that just elected just to stay outside of her wheel, and it was one of them things. If I got back on her back and followed her up, she wouldn't have got to the breeze to the bell sort of thing, and then I probably would have been 3 wide the trip. So it was just one thing that we just sort of had to chance our arm, and it didn't work. We would have looked like an idiot, but it did. So don't matter.
It's one of the reasons I like to do these, because I think sometimes the punter at home, or the punter at the pub, they're like, Dave Moran, what's he doing? He's four deep with a lap to go. Like, what's he doing? But it's the fact that you need to sort of stay ahead of major times. Jody's horse, because of that reason, he's a hard horse to get past. He proved that at Ballarat to you, in himself, and he can run some good races. But probably his Achilles heel is that tactical turn of foot. He's strong and he can run a good half, but he just doesn't have that acceleration that a few of these others do, and you had to use that to your advantage, at 1,200 metres from home, basically. Like that's why I think racing's changed so much now. A lot of it is posing up anywhere from 1,600 out to 1,000 metres out, trying to get yourself in the right spot in these better races. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, no, it's they can be very tactical races, them sort of races like Saturday night, especially over the 2,200. They're, to a degree, that you can nearly class them as mile races when a favoured runner sort of finds the front pretty easy, and one gets to the breeze. One of the more fancied ones gets to the breeze. There's not a lot of moves after that, so they can be pretty tactical, and sometimes you don't have a lot of time to move. You've got to make your mind up pretty quick, and if it's the right one and it pulls off, all good, but I think that's the only thing nowadays that I dislike a little bit. Like you've got your mile races now that, like your Bonanzas and the Smoking Up Sprint and all them sort of races, which are fine to have. But races like the Victoria Cup and them sort of things over 2,200, I disagree with them a little bit, because the 2,600 races that people can make moves, and horses like Harley, for example, Saturday night, it's a plan, instead of just being a plan A, there's a plan B with them also, whether they can hold the front over 2,600 and that sort of thing, and it just makes it so much better to watch and a bit easier to drive. They're just great races.
This was a great race to watch. I actually agree with you, because I put my hand up a long time ago and said I'm old school in a way. I'm open to change as well, but I do agree. The flip side of it is, this was a cracking race, and like the tape's at the 500 metre mark, and I will let it keep rolling after this, Dave, so you won't have to worry where we're up to. I have to worry about something, but that's okay. I'll work it out in a sec. It'll be fine. Don't stress. Harley just starts absolutely running. You ask your bloke for a couple, but did you actually think Harley might have come back to you? You actually get almost onto Amanda's helmet just prior to straightening. Did you think he was going to come back to you, or what was your confidence level like?
It was funny because at the 500, I was sort of I was all done. He was practically out on his feet, and I dropped Amanda's helmet, and he sort of just lost it about half a metre, and then picked her helmet up again. And around the turn, he was travelling okay, but I was sort of holding his head up to a degree. You could tell that he was just starting to put on his run a little bit, and then as he does up the straight, he dug deep and fought again. But I wasn't overly confident that I'd catch Harley. Like I said, he can, he's a beautiful little horse, and he can reel off some pretty good sectionals when he finds the front.
Gives hope to a lot of blokes like me, mate. He looked a little bit rotund and fat, but he can still run some time, can't he?
Yeah, he did. I thought the same thing. Asking the parade ring, he was a bit early to what I've seen him in the past. But yeah, no, their horses are always pretty close to the mark. That's for sure.
Yep, they are, and they do a great job because they have them all different shapes and sizes. People, everyone has their preconceived ideas, but you get some of those, especially some of their mares are very light and tight, and you get the stallions. They look immaculate, but Ride High doesn't look like Harley. That's for sure. They're all a little bit different, which is testament to their training technique, I think, and the likes. You said he's pulled up well, so the plan is this Saturday night with Ride High, I believe. I think there was 8 acceptors I saw, or something to that extent. So the race should stand up.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to stand up. There's I think there's 12 noms. There's a few double nominators, so there'll more than likely be, there'll be 8 or 10 in there minimum, I would think. So that should be good. It's probably it'd be good for everyone if they could go the track. And the Victoria Cup was the first time they met, but that's just how it's going to work out, and that should be good.
What's the plan for that then after that? Like, I don't like locking people in plans, but do you race him again the week after, or do you just wait then for the Victoria Cup, or you wait and see after this weekend?
Yeah, just not 100% sure on what we'll do there. The original plan was to race him 3 weeks in a row, and then go straight into the Victoria Cup because he does so well off the racing. But we'll just play it by ear. I'd imagine the smoking up will be pretty strong. I'd imagine Clayton and Emma will back a lot of them ones up from Bendigo. Plus, you're going to have, you're a chance of having a horse like Cash and Flow, and them, if they do come, they may not. You still got Zen Art and the other horses like Reactor now and whatever else here. So it's going to be a good field. So just sort of got to sit down and work out whether we really, really need to completely fry him, because they're going to run some time. So whether we really need to completely fry him that the week before, or whether we just give him that fortnight in between.
Yep. All right. Well, we'll stay tuned, mate. Hopefully I get to see you Saturday night. I don't know if I'm working or not, but I look forward to seeing him. Just quickly, mate, your 2-year-olds. If it's to be, it's up to me. He just looked a little bit flat after, like Shep, you weren't sure how he went. Did he not back up, or just the fast times, he just couldn't handle it this week?
Yeah, I'd say just the fast times. He's not quite up to them, but he went good at Shep over the mile. So we thought we'd give him another crack and just try and season him up a little bit. But the 54 over the 2100 might have just been enough for him. We'll try and plan his path a little bit better. And the other bloke, Lochinvar Chief, he choked down to a degree. He cut his wind off. He did breathe a bit funny a few times, which is a bit scary considering the sectional times that we're running. But yeah, he's a funny sort of horse too. Like I said, he's mentally sort of not fully there just yet. Last week he looked good and whatnot. He got it his own way and he buzzed across over the mile. And he's just, I think he'll make a better horse in time to come.
Just give him a bit more time to develop and the likes, because it's funny you say that, because mile racing is as tough, especially the way you run a 26.5 first quarter that night at Shep 2 weeks ago against Idyllic, and I thought for sure you guys would be gone, but he was going as strong as anyone on the line, other than probably your stablemate was the only one really taking any ground off them, and then you were gone a long way out. It wasn't a matter of you can't stay 2100. You were gone a long way out really the other night, weren't you?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, no, he's a funny horse, like I said. But we'll resurrect him and just try and get things back a bit more normal in his head and getting the switch on a bit.
Dave Moran, thank you so much for talking tactics, mate. I've really enjoyed it, and hopefully the people at home have. And thank you very much for your time, buddy.
No worries, Paul.